Oh, they VAR'd it.
Welcome to the acclaimed podcast, The Deep Dive, featuring your esteemed hosts, Andy Monitor and Drew Dinzik, powered by BETSPERTS.
Welcome to The Deep Dive. Week 5 was freaking terrible. Week 6, we move on. And
we're on to Cincinnati.
But real quick, before kind of going into week 6, we don't talk a ton about the emotional side of gambling. And I've kind of learned my lesson the hard way from years of being on tilt and making terrible decisions as I bet into Sunday night football before kickoff or Monday night football, trying to get back Sunday losses. What happened on Sunday for me with the Niners and the Browns, like blowing those games in the fashion that they did was it was tilting, and it lingered into Monday as I rewatched and saw some of the revisited some of the questionable calls in that Niners game. They were so tough on the offensive line for holding, and then they missed that obvious safety that would have at least gotten me to a 5-point margin instead of 7. And similarly, that pass interference just still killing me in that Chargers.
I know. We started with working on tilt,
man.
And you went right back to a bitch session again.
Well, no, I'm just saying,
it sucks on the Niners.
Yeah, I talked about this on the Matchbook deal, but surely a younger version of myself would have been all in on Kansas City on Sunday Night Football, trying to get it back. And but I've learned the hard way, not to make bets on game day. You set your positions here Wednesday, Thursday at the absolute latest, you ride them out. And ultimately, I think, that I didn't do a ton of adjusting to my numbers, particularly around those teams that cost me money last weekend. And for those reasons, I'm seeing value on a lot of the same sides that I've been betting all season. I'm not really aggressively adjusting week in, week out here. I'm still pretty heavily influenced by my priors. So, it's going to be a lot of the same in terms of what my numbers say to bet this week. And I don't tend to venture too far away from that. So, it's not been a great NFL season for me to this point, and I need to turn it around. But I think we caught a couple of winners this week. So excited to break down this card.
Yeah, for sure. And, shout out to some people in the chat already. I actually I couldn't see what I was flipping to for backgrounds, and I flipped to a Tim Hortons, which I'm going to pretend I meant to. Happy belated Canadian Thanksgiving to all you Canadian. I hope you had a great weekend. I hope you had a good Monday off. I hope you enjoyed it with your family, friends, and whoever else you celebrate weird-ass Canadian Thanksgiving with. I'm not sure if you eat turkeys or not. That's what we do. Hopefully you'll join us on a regular, normal American Thanksgiving in a few weeks. Yeah, probably about a month, 5 weeks, I suppose. We'll do a couple of dives at halftime. We might do a bonus one this weekend for London. Somebody brought that up and we forgot all about that.
I'm down.
Not sure
I'm down.
Yeah, I'm down for it. So
yeah.
We'll get her figured out. My numbers haven't changed a ton as weeks go on. I use less and less of my priors and more of my game grades I go with for my numbers, though. Took some big, and we'll get to a couple of these games. Let's dive right in. We have bye weeks this week, so we're not going to be struggling to keep this under 2 hours today. Hopefully, we have a couple teams that aren't even playing, which helps. But there's a few games where we had to make some massive adjustments because we have some big quarterback problems as far as broken fingers and concussed brains and things like that. Nothing to start with for that one, though. In this first match, the Thursday night match, I'm watching too much soccer and hockey, I guess, calling it a match. Let's call it a game. A lot of Philly money. I don't blame people taking the 7.5 here at home. I think that's probably some good grabs by some people. I'm hesitant to take either side in this one, though. I'll get into that if you want to kind of just set up this game a little.
So I did get involved ultimately. I laid the 7 at plus money price. It got to the point where I couldn't turn it down. I have downgraded Tampa Bay's defense on the basis of who's going to be available. No Winfield in this game, no Levante David in this game. You are down a couple of defensive backs. And I recognize that Tampa Bay's defense is not what we expected starting the season. However, you're still going up against a relatively untested quarterback on a short week. You're still going up against a head coach who has never had to prepare for this type of situation. And there's really not a lot you can say about the Philadelphia offense this season that screams consistency, irrespective of their opponent. So ultimately, I do think that the number ought to be 7.5 here. I still have Tampa Bay, Buffalo, and Kansas City are clustered so tightly in terms of my current power number that they're indistinguishable in my mind. And, we just closed a game where Kansas City was 7-point favorites against Philly. I thought Kansas City was the right side in that one. They covered, obviously. I think similarly, if you put Buffalo at Philly in this spot, they would be favored by more than a touchdown. I don't think that you can really truly quantify the difference in expected performance from a veteran quarterback like Tom Brady with a fully healthy set of weapons going into this game outside of Gronkowski, obviously. And I think Philadelphia's defense has shown us that they are susceptible to getting beat down the field with the exact type of aggressive approach that Tom Brady has sort of kind of found common ground here with the Byron Leftwich, with the Bruce Arians system, where they are taking shots relatively frequently. Those shots, I think, are high probability of conversion against this Philly defense, which means you're talking about Brady and Tampa playing from ahead for a lot of this game. The one strength of the Philly defense of their D line up against the absolute all-universe offensive line for Tampa does not scare me at all. And then you're asking Jalen Hurts to play score for score with this offense and or comeback mode to close the gap and to get the cover. I don't think either of those things are especially likely. So I don't mind being on the road on a short week, laying a point,
laying the contrarian favorite kind of a little. I get why people are taking the 7.5 at home. If you got a good 7.5, maybe not the worst look if that's where you're leaning. I like a lot of things about this Philly offense, but just like Drew said, I worry about them playing in a extreme negative game state. If anybody, when we start talking game states, you can break it down even more granularly by like win percentage probabilities, but essentially like I'm within one score, I'm up by a score, or I'm down by a score. And, I try to keep it in 3 buckets. Like, are you behind by 8 or more? Are you up by 8 or more? Or is it somewhere in the middle? And in the middle is just a neutral game state where you're not, freaking out. We have to hit a hurry up offense and really go pass heavy and work the sidelines or anything like that because it's late yet. It's, there's that. And, getting in that negative game state where you're down by 8 or more for Philly, that's where I do worry about them. You could be a little mistake laden in general, but for anybody, you have a young quarterback, a questionable play caller at times, a questionable head coach. And then, also the biggest part of, if I had to rank all the parts of the Philly defense, the coverage unit is the most probably sketchy for me. And they've shown like, hey, Gronk's out. Yeah. They put up a shitload of points without him. They still have a bunch of really good receivers. That sucks. It sucks to be missing Gronk. But we have a bunch of other really good receivers. Tom Brady's still just fine. That offensive line is holding up pretty nicely right now. They're going to put up points. This total's where it's at for a reason. And I'm hesitant to back Philly in a spot where they'd have to be coming back. I'd look at them maybe like first half team total over. I do think Philly gets there, sticks with them for the first half. Maybe not even sticks with them, but scores, ends up with like 14. They could still be down. I actually probably lean towards a first half over in this one as well. I think somebody brought that up. Sam Lipscomb says these teams rank 1 and 2 in early down passing in the first half. Ooh. Tampa Bay secondary is banged up. And not only that, Levante David's hurt. Winfield's going to be out with the concussion again. So Philly could have some success early, but just like Drew said, going bang for bang with bang for, but that's not a phrase anyone uses. Shot for shot, point for point, drive for drive with this Tampa Bay offense. Going to be awful tough for this team. So
yeah, one other point to bring up:
O-line
injuries for the Philly remain an issue. Aggressive pass rush, aggressive blitzing scheme of Todd Bowles could make this a long day for Jalen Hurts. I think if Jalen Hurts if they try to use him out of the pocket, out of structure, on the ground, Devin White's a great matchup for him in terms of being able to go speed off ball. And I think ultimately this is one-way traffic for Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay. That brings us to Sunday. Unless you're in Hawaii, then it's probably still not Saturday there, but it's very, very early in the morning. This is 6:30 a.m. West Coast time. I'm not sure what that is.
3 hours. We're 3 hours different. It's 6:30 my time, so I think it's 3:30 a.m.
3:30 Hawaiian Aleutian time.
Yeah.
If you're in the Kodiak Isles or somewhere in Waikiki, this is very, very early. It's going to be early for you. Heck, it's nice for me. I seriously was in when somebody brought it up, like, hey, are you guys doing a halftime show? I'm like, I should take a picture of myself. I'm in bed. Like, I'm not even up yet. I'd gotten up, had some coffee, and I went back to bed and just watched the game there. It was nice, but we'll definitely do something this Sunday. And this is an ugly one with the possibility of being a little bit cooler if Tua comes back. Miami's a weird one for me right now. I kind of have them in a flux spot because a big part of their passing offense is taking a big hit. And I think Miami might be a bet on team later in the season because we saw they've struggled. There's no other way to put it. They've struggled against teams maybe they shouldn't be struggling with. And a big part of it is Jacoby Brissett is probably not as good as Tua, not as dynamic for sure, and he's not as ingrained into the game plan.
You saw that graphic that I need to give him some credit because this guy makes probably among my favorite graphics on Twitter. But Anthony Reinhard, does that sound?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
He created one of the cooler graphics I saw today, where he basically was like, "Here is the EPA loss, cumulative EPA loss by wide receiver drops." Jacoby Brissett was number 2 cumulatively in the NFL under way fewer pass attempts.
Funny spiral.
Is it really his ball is uncatchable? I can't believe that. I think it's just been unfortunate for him. And honestly, I don't know that the downgrade I don't know that there is a downgrade between Tua and Brissett. Although Brissett has been getting the reps Tua has been getting the reps this week. The coaches are saying positive things about him. So who the fuck knows?
Yeah, getting him back, getting not only that, but getting your receiver core back to full health would be great. I know Byron Jones is fighting. He's got his leg injury, Achilles maybe. Xavier Howard had some injuries, and then Devontae Parker obviously didn't practice again. But if we can get both receivers and Tua back to full health, it's a team that can compete. So maybe these are nice situations when a team has some injuries and maybe they're not in the national spotlight because they're not in big, even though they kind of will be in the morning here. You'll have a little bit of spotlight on them, but a team like this that underperforms for a reason that is injuries, you can often turn them into a bet on team once they get healthy again because the market is a little down on them. I don't have a strong opinion on this game. This is a pretty ugly one to me. My power numbers are, again, in flux because I don't know what we're getting with Tua. I have to make a small adjustment for that. Miami is playing a back-to-back road game. It looks like we're going to be traveling Thursday afternoon after a walkthrough for them. Jacksonville, I'm still not sure, but I'm assuming they'll do what they always do. I have no interest in betting this except at halftime.
Yeah, okay. That seems fair. And I think we'll get a sense at halftime if the Jags are taking this game seriously or if they send a message to Mr. Khan to leave the coach on the tarmac, which, has been a 2-week building, moment here. And I didn't play this game. We should mention the market a little bit here. It's been bet out from Dolphins -3 to Dolphins -3.5 at a lot of places. That's fair. I mean, I get there's been some buyback today. I should hold my tongue. It looks like it's coming back down to a juicy 3. And the total is interesting as well, because we expected about a 43-44 total, and it has been bet up to 47 and a half, and then back down to 47, although Circa is leading the market right now at 47 and a half. So there is some sharp inclination to play this over. I didn't really want to get involved in this over, but I get why people are playing it. I get why my people think Miami is the side. I do think, though, that Miami has not shown an ability to generate much of a pass rush this season, which means that Trevor Lawrence is going to have time, and when he has time, he can do some things positively. So should be a pretty competitive game. Hopefully it's interesting. Hopefully the Jags don't spend all night Wednesday night, all night Saturday night out at the London pubs, and then no show on Sunday morning. What's the deal with the grading on first coach fired props for you? Because I've had some places grade L's, and then I have a couple of places that are pending still on first coach fired. Do you think that we're getting free rolled there, and they're eventually just going to grade him a loss if he is fired this week, or what do you think is happening?
Yeah, there's places that have opened next coach to be fired, and Urban is even money there. But yeah, I'm pretty sure. I haven't even looked. I have so many futures at the books. I'd have to go back and look if my Urban one is still alive. My Urban one is still pending at one book apparently. So
yeah, me as well.
First coach to be fired, it says. So maybe a resignation isn't I'll have to look at, maybe I'll have to do a little asking around on that one. It would be cool, but yeah, we're for sure getting free rolled. Yeah, no bet. I'd lean towards this over, but it's already been steamed up a little just because of exactly what Drew said there. If Trevor's not being pressured, he's not a bad quarterback. When he faces a tough pass rush, things are going to go badly for him right now. This team has a lot of needs. I hope they keep losing so they can draft some more, maybe another first-round running back. That'd be good.
Hey, you want to answer Spartan 1414's question? Next coach to have emails leaked. I mean, there's a lot of coaches that were a part of that Washington football team tree who were there around those times who probably have some things.
I'd hate to see the Deuce Gruden ones.
Do you think he knows how to email is the question, I think.
I couldn't see him typing. I can just traps for days. All right, Houston, Indy.
Oh, boy. This one is interesting, and rather than talk about the side or the total, because this has been battered back and forth between 9.5 and 10, and who cares? I mean, I guess 10's key, but ultimately the Texans are in a very weird state. The team is not being coached well. They are playing hard when they feel like it. Davis Mills is good, but he sucks also, or he's not really good at all. He's like average, but he sucks sometimes. It's a home game for the Colts, which presumably should give their defense a little bit more of an edge than they had against Baltimore in that second half. They suffered a handful of meaningful injuries. Darius Leonard obviously is playing through something really serious this year because his performance has been unimpressive. However, it's mostly the pass defense that's suspect and some of Eberflus's scheme, which I find to be sort of the main issue with the Colts defensively. Texans don't have anyone to take advantage of that. By the way, did you see Larry Tunsil? Thumb surgery. He's going to be gone for a few weeks. So this is an opportunity for the Indianapolis Colts to get right. Unbelievable that you have 2 1-4 teams facing off and the home team is a 9.5 point favorite. And that's fair. Rather than get too much into this side or total, is now the buy low on the Colts. Is it now or never? Did you see anything in Carson Wentz's performance against that Ravens defense on the road that has you thinking the Colts are frisky to win the AFC South? Because, not to spoil the surprise, their schedule in the next 5 games, very soft, while the Titans might go 1-4.
Yeah, I don't want to get too, because I've seen this 8 times on Twitter already, but it is. I mean, yeah, a lot of people have bet this week already.
not enough that I still see 3-1s out there. Market's not moving that much.
I don't think people are hammering it with max bets at every out they have, but people have mentioned that they're going to take the Colts to win the division. If not now, never. Like, this is the spot. If you think that has a chance, or you have a decent number on Tennessee early, or you're looking to get out of that, or you're scared of their schedule. Tennessee's schedule is rough. Indy's is very easy for the next 5-ish weeks. There's a decent chance Indy is a favorite when we come back and visit this in a month. I'm not getting involved, but if you're going to, this is the time. This is the absolute buy low spot on them. They should, the win probability on this game is pretty high, despite, man, their list of injuries is nasty as well. And obviously, Houston's probably counteracting that by missing, an important offensive lineman on a team that has enough problems to begin with. But man, Indy's list of injuries was rough, and they actually signed a new kicker. They got the Money Badger in. Badgley signed with the team today, I think, which makes me nervous. I kind of like this, and tell you the truth, with the injuries to the secondary and the Colts, and as frisky as Mills looked against a team that, people can get frisky on, and just what Houston brings to the table, I think I have this total a little low. But I am very hesitant to get involved in it.
My total is.
Yeah, very hesitant to get involved in an under or an over with Davis Mills slinging it on one side and a cold Michael Badgley coming in, possibly missing 6 kicks to make me pull my hair out before 3:00 on a Sunday. So yeah, Blankenship is injured enough where they signed another kicker. So it might be an over game, but man, I'm very hesitant to get involved in it.
I make this game median projected score 27-17, 44 points.
44. I'm a little over 45. It was 42.5. It's taken a little steam, but I'm again with all the injury questions, and some of it is because of the injury questions. The hurt pieces in this Colts secondary is a big part of, maybe I'll just DFS it and get involved with some of these Houston receivers. That feels pretty good. That's very contrarian. So I will. I'll be staying away from this, and we'll move on to the.
And just for future clarity, you're staying away from Colts also at 3-1 to win the AFC.
Yeah, I think if people want to bet it now, but I'm staying away from it.
Okay. Man, I thought I had you kind of convinced in the messages the other day. I thought I was making fairly coherent points on that, but
I just have enough future bets, man.
You're good. Okay. If you are inclined to get involved in that market, just go take a look at the next 5 games for each team, and you can figure out a way to get some plus EV at 3-1 Colts, in my opinion. But
for sure.
If you have enough future bets in your pending, then just pass is fine as well. Let's talk about this rivalry game. I'll let you tee it up. The 4-1 Packers head to Chicago to take on the surprisingly feisty wild card pending Chicago Bears at 3-2.
Yeah, the Bears had some injury. Fields took some hits. He's a little dinged up. He's got a knee that's bugging him. He'll play. Like, he's not certainly missing in a practice or anything, but a couple people, the Bears have been real sketchy about this pretty much all year. A lot of, especially on the defensive side, a lot of veterans sitting out on Wednesdays, making us wonder if they're really banged up or if it's just taking a break already 3 weeks in. Jesus. But the Bears have been frisky. I've been forced to upgrade them off a few things. Like, the defense is playing better. The play calling is slightly better. They have figured out how to use Justin Fields a little bit. It's helped. The teams they've played have certainly helped, but they're getting it done. Winning ugly. Brad Gilbert, Winning Ugly. That's the name of his book.
Is it? I didn't know anything about Brad. I don't read Brad Gilbert.
It's his avatar on Twitter is his book that he wrote.
Oh.
Winning ugly. But yeah, they're winning ugly, and Fetty's hurt, and I think they have one other guy that's might miss. But with the secondary problems for Green Bay, they could probably hang here. Like I know some smart people that took some decent numbers on the Bears here. I make it 5, so I'm leaning a little bit away from taking like a 4.5 here. I have a little more respect for Green Bay, but Bears to score points is probably a thing that happens. And when this total, like this was one of them that was on my early list for secret team total, because this is going to be like Bears 20.5.
Boy, man.
It's not a fun one. That's a
Packers
hold your nose.
Packers are one of the only like legit edges that I see on the entire card this week. So I got to ask you offline who's actually who's grabbing Bears in this market, because I make this closer to a touchdown. Not quite 7 points margin here between these two teams, but considering the offense that they're running, that Justin Fields is operating in right now, and I guess this is my general thought. Ultimately, in the future, this matchup will be really, really good. Justin Fields and the Bears against the Packers will be a really fun matchup, because what the Packers like to do, the way their personnel is structured defensively, is not good in terms of matching up against a really athletic, mobile quarterback like Fields, who can attack you downfield, but also get loose with his legs. Right now, though, they're not really giving Fields those opportunities. They're not even really asking him to do that, on top of the fact that he is dealing with a ton of injuries. And I do think they are going to err on the side of conservatism, keep him out of harm's way, run a vanilla-ish offense, and just try to beat them with the passing attack, which if you have, a Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Higgins, Boyd combo, sure, that can put points up on this Packers team. And, not to rub salt in the wound, but they should have put up more than 20 points in the Packers last week.
Yeah.
But at the same time, this Bears offense, I do not see being able to go score for score with Aaron Rodgers whatsoever. And I'm concerned about some of these Bears injuries too. If we know Akeem Hicks is dealing with a groin, if he is either less than 100% or out of this game, that completely neutralizes the only strength that the Bears bring into this one from a defensive standpoint. I think the Bears secondary is highly questionable. I know that in general, the way that they are scheming this year is closer to the old Vic Fangio way of things rather than last year. However, I think, Aaron Rodgers absolutely owns these guys. The last 3 meetings, he was unstoppable. Devontae Adams, you have no matchup in that secondary that's going to be able to stay within a yard of Devontae Adams on critical, high leverage downs in this one. Similarly, the Packers are starting to figure out a little bit better how they want to deploy their running backs, Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. It's annoying to me that they are using Dillon the way they are using him in these very predictable, inside the red zone, into a stacked box with an offensive line that's injured and can't get any push. Like every one of those snaps in that fourth quarter that he got handoffs that were dead on handoff made me angry. But still at the same time, I like the way they're deploying Aaron Jones a lot. And AJ Dillon showed flashes in the passing game, which, he has good hands actually. And if he becomes sort of the Aaron Rodgers, the unexpected, like, oh, AJ Dillon's in, it's going to be an inside handoff. Whoa, it's a freaking screen. What? Or like, oh, it's a wheel route. What? Like those types of misdirection plays, I think I would love to see more of that. And ultimately, I think the Packers get to 28 here pretty comfortably, and I don't see Chicago getting beyond 20. So
I found a 21 team total is 20 minus 10. I'm a little sketched off, and not only that, but the chance of weather down there in Chicago, it's
slow
to be that time of year. It was a little cold and breezy up here today, and it was football weather. Honestly, I went to that high school game the other night, and it was like nice out. I'm like, this is good. Like this is how football game should be, instead of being cold and windy. But we are getting to that point, and yeah, it's the Bears' offense doesn't have the weapons that other teams have. But at the same time, like 2 weeks ago, we saw what Mooney's ceiling is, I think, and they didn't get him as involved last week. But last week they didn't really apparently need much to take care of John Gruden's last game, I guess. But they got to 20 last week against the Raiders, and really maybe didn't get pushed by the Raiders to score more in the second half. So I believe in this offense. I'm probably actually leaning towards an over in this one, as much as I'd hate to take this Bears offense in an over total. But because I do hate what's going on in the Green Bay secondary, and this one is only 44.5, I think, like you said, Green Bay gets to 25, 27, 28 pretty easily a lot of times. And if Chicago can hold up their end of the bargain, this one's an over. So overlook for me, I might be adding to this.
People in the chat freaking out about the USA qualifier. I love it. Okay, I don't mind the over in this one either, but I like the Packers to score more than I like the Bears to score. And a ton of it's just the personnel in the secondary for the Packers. So, all right.
KC.
Wow, 2-3 Chiefs.
Didn't
Who would believe it?
Odd looking at these. I'll be cheering for the Chiefs.
You know what's really frustrating? You want to talk about tilting? I feel like we must have said this a dozen times in the previews. Like, a lot of the thesis of how to handicap the AFC was, man, the Chiefs have such a tough start. They might be like 2-3 after 5 weeks. And yet here I made almost no money. In fact, I think I might have lost money betting on Chiefs games. I'll have to double check. Oh no, actually I didn't lose money on them. But still, I should be winning more on this, because it's going exactly like we thought it was going to go. We saw the first take clip this week. It wasn't quite phrase by phrase what we were waiting on.
Yeah, they didn't bury him.
It wasn't
quite.
Dug the hole. They dug the hole. They didn't mention Super Bowl hangover. That was one of the buzzwords I was waiting on. And I did not bet any futures on the Chiefs this week. I have not bet them to bounce back in this spot. I don't have any action on this game at all, although we may need to talk about team totals for just out of curiosity what you think. But what were your major takeaways of that Chiefs-Bills game first? Because I know we didn't really get to cover it at length. And what is your temperature on this Chiefs team now in this game and going forward?
Frank Clark sucks. The secondary sucks. The safety sucks. Everybody on the field knows it. And if you have a receiver that can burn, or even Emmanuel Sanders, apparently you could beat these guys deep. Terry McLaurin props probably aren't high enough. This is in Washington. This isn't the best spot for him. I mean, they're still clearly a much better team. But man, you got to go to Washington and try to pull yourself up to 500. Like, they should win this game, but Washington's going to score. And obviously they're going to score. This total's 55.5. So Sorensen, that's the guy's name.
Sorensen.
Dirty Dan Sorensen had a hell of a day.
This is karma for what he did to the Browns last year in the playoffs.
Oh yeah, he was the one behind that hit. So that I played it. I played against this defense. I took the Buffalo. I pushed out on Buffalo because I was just worried, like, well, Kansas City might just score 40. It doesn't matter if my guys put up 35, but I did play Buffalo team total over. Turned out to be a pretty easy bet. We got our second half bets all taken care of in that one. And I think maybe more of a damnation on this KC defense than anything for Buffalo. Okay. Buffalo's offense, we knew they were good.
Okay, hang on.
But let me get to the offense real quick. It just, the offense doesn't look sharp.
Right. Like they haven't for a while.
The pieces are there. There's things that Mahomes didn't used to do. There's things that the receivers didn't used to drop. There's just, all it takes is one play like that on a second and long, and all of a sudden you're punting instead of scoring 3 plays later. They look a little off, and I can't quite place why right now.
I'm in the same boat as you, because you look at the data, the EPA per play stuff, and it's just like, no, this is an all-time unit, like all time. But the eye test doesn't match up. The sharpness is they feel sloppy. There's small things that just aren't what you want to see. I feel like Andy Reid hasn't given us a plus EV game plan in a while, which is weird. Like he had some wrinkles at the goal line against Philly, a bunch of the misdirection stuff that was clever. But I still am not seeing much plus EV out of them offensively. That doesn't mean it's not going to just magically show up midway through the season and they're not going to go scorched earth on teams down the stretch. But you're right in that the offense does not look sharp yet. The defense, I want to go back and ask you a more pointed question, though. Is the defense what we saw against the Bills was, it looked to me like the defense was prepared for like a different team. Like that's happened a couple times this season where the defensive coordinator just came out and he was like, what team did you prepare for exactly? Like what? Like you weren't expecting that from them? Like it was a real head scratching kind of general plan was bad.
And I wonder if it was personnel based. Like we don't have the personnel to scheme properly. Here's what we're going to try. And it might not work. And it clearly didn't. But yeah, total knife to a gunfight as far as what they brought. And we've had this discussion and this has turned into the new, maybe a bit of a tussle in the analytics community, pass rush versus coverage.
Sure.
And I think I'm always going to lean towards coverage in that one. I think I'm team coverage. But they do work together, and coverage will trump pass rush. You can have kind of a bad pass rush, but if they have more time, they're going to get home. Somebody's going to get home if you have good coverage. Whereas you can beat bad coverage by just guys get separation so early that even a good pass rush just doesn't have the time. They're limited by the constraints of time. You get the ball out in 2-3 step drops. Doesn't matter how good the pass rush. You could have the purple people eaters, a Steel Curtain, and Aaron Donald up there all together. If you're throwing the ball in 2 seconds, shit's not going to work. So not having either is just not going to be easy to scheme with. Like you can't scheme with when your pass rush isn't getting home and your coverage is horrible. So yeah, somebody brought up the win total. They do have an adjusted win total of 10.5, which is a bit interesting looking at their schedule.
Well, their schedule has a lot more really difficult offenses up until about week 13. It does not necessarily get easier. That was part of my thinking on why I have not fired any Chiefs.
No, I have a team total. I have a win total under on them.
I haven't fired any Chiefs futures, even though that was the plan, because I have respect for the Washington football team offense. I have respect for the Tennessee Titans offense. They get a brief reprieve against concussed Danny Dimes and then Jason Garrett and the Giants, although they certainly have been a lot friskier than anyone expected this year offensively.
And
then
Dimes
they get
might be back.
Packers, Raiders, Cowboys into the bye week. So it will not be until December when they take on the Denver Broncos at home that the defense may have a little bit of a break here. And so I don't know that there's a rush to get involved with this team because they're going to be in a lot of coin flip games, even with this out of this world offense.
And really, like, if you want to get involved with them in the future, I think it would be, I would take oh man, I don't know what I would take. I'm not sure I would want to take anything. They now have lost the tiebreaker and they will get to try to even up the tiebreaker against the Chargers, but
in LA. In
LA though, but you right now Buffalo and the Chargers have the tiebreaker on you. It makes it awful tough to get that 1 seed. So
let's go back to the AFC West. Even you get plus money on them to win the AFC West right now.
Yep,
I don't want any part of that. I don't want any part of that. And if they don't win the AFC West,
instead of betting that, bet on them when they play the Chargers next time. That's
there you
go.
Easier bet. And oh, by the way, if they do sneak in as the wild card, which seems right now as their most likely path to the playoffs, they wrap up their season at the LA Chargers, home for the Steelers, at Cincinnati, at Denver. So 3 of their last 4 games will be road games. And you don't have to do the math to know if you go into the playoffs as a wild card team, it is likely that you will have to win 3 road games to get to the Super Bowl. So the Chiefs are realistically their most likely path to the Los Angeles Super Bowl this year is 5 straight road wins. Has that ever been done in history, Andy?
And that's where I'm thinking, like, Josh here has the idea. If you want to bet a Chiefs future bet, find this adjusted team to or win total over 10.5.
You think
Them
11-6? They go they go 9-3 from here.
Oh, even that's tough, man. Is this a 10-win team? Jesus Christ, what's happened? If this offense clicks, they can win all the games. Like it doesn't. They can turn into what we're seeing from the Cowboys, where it's just the defense isn't that good. Like there's a few flash players, but it doesn't matter if they're going to score 40. That's kind of what we had in the past with this team. So I don't know. Well, I think we can get deeper into this next week after this game. But like I'm not betting on the Chiefs to win anything. I don't want any of their futures. Their schedule's too tough right now, and I don't think we're gonna get to see them in the 1 seed.
Okay, 9-4. Okay. Wait, no, it is 9-3. They would 11-6 would be the winner for over 10.5, and they're 2-3 right now. So
yeah, only 3 more. Yeah, I have under 12.5. I only need 2 more losses all year. Feeling pretty good about that one.
Their toughest games for what it's worth, their toughest games are at home.
Yeah,
Packers, Cowboys. At the Chargers is pretty difficult, obviously, but their road games are not. They're going to be favored. They're going to continue to be favored almost every week. I think you just got to pick your spots. Teams are playing up against them, though. They're playing aggressively. That's making this defense look that much worse. Like they're getting everybody's best shot, which is, that's the nature of things. That's what happens when you go to the Super Bowl 2 years in a row. Teams tend to circle you on their calendar. I know play for me on this game. Let's carry on to
Minnesota, Carolina. Teased it. The not often used 7-point -30 teaser. Talked about it this morning. This is one leg. You can only use this really on 1s and 9.5s, but went ahead and did it. So I teased.
Which side did you tease?
Carolina.
You teased Carolina.
I'm not scared of this. No, I'm very out on Minnesota being a consistent team. I said nice things about them, and I think I might have been mistaken. So I did what I did. I want to hear your takes on it. Just in general, like who wins the damn game?
I have Vikings by 3. So I took the money line when it was plus money. Didn't love the injury report today for the Vikings. In fact, it made me very sad. I'm very hopeful that there is some gamesmanship going on and that Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen are fine. I didn't see anything watching the game or watching, some of the late tape in that one that was like, those guys didn't look right. They looked fine. I also don't hold a letdown against when you play the Lions at home against the Vikings last week. Yes, they should have won by more. Yes, that should have been a comfortable win, but I don't think that tells you much about them as far as their overall strength as a team. Interesting that they were heavily backed last week, out to 11, and then did not come close to covering. Really, I don't think ever looked like that cover was going to make it. And then, well, yeah, the Dalvin Cook back, expect Zimmer to bring out the bad game plan is always in the back of my head. However, Panthers are susceptible to Dalvin Cook in space. I think really there's a lot of similarities with what the Vikings are doing offensively. To me, it's very cheap. It's very Cowboys light in terms of who they have personnel wise and what they're trying to run. And I think we saw when the Cowboys and the Panthers played this Panthers defense, that Panthers team was in an advantage spot and they could not keep up with the Cowboys. They could not keep them out of the end zone. They could not come back when they were in a deficit. And I think ultimately that's what I'm concerned about when it comes to Sam Darnold. And as you brought up eloquently at the beginning, game state matters. And when it's Sam Darnold that you're talking about, and he's in a negative game state, I am perfectly fine writing him off. And the opposite is true of Kirk Cousins. If Carolina is doing well in this game, if they come out strong, if they take a lead, I'm not going to be sweating a Kirk Cousins comeback really at all, because that may unwind the bad game plan by Zimmer. And in general, for whatever it's worth, this Minnesota team doesn't seem like they have come in any way, shape, or form. They're not showing in me, at least, in terms of body language, in terms of how they're playing these games. They're not showing me that they have called it on this season at all, and that they think they can still absolutely compete for a playoff spot. I think that if you pulled that locker room, they would tell you to a man, no, we're going to the playoffs. This is a playoff team. I think they feel like they probably got wrong result in the first two games, and that they should be, 4-1 at this point instead of 2-3. So it's, I think, and they got a kicker. I know he missed the game-winning kick against the Cardinals, but that guy can kick. And so if this does come down to last possession, I'm fine being on the Vikings here at plus money. Market has come with me despite the injury news. It is -1 right now. A couple of places have a 1.5, so this may continue to drift. But ultimately, I think Minnesota is the correct favorite, and I am glad that I have a little bit of perceived CLV here.
Yeah, I make it Minnesota by a half point. That's where I'm at right now. And I'm not very high in Carolina's home field. Not much situationally, but yeah, Minnesota I've had to downgrade just due to some game grades. Like, if that's what you're going to do with your offense, with all those good pieces, if that's the game plan you're going to run out, you're going to get a bad game grade and you're going to get downgraded. So I have them close enough. And obviously, if Darnold needed to come back and win the game, I'd feel awful bad about a bet. But inside of a teaser, just keeping it to 8, I'm fine with that. So I did, and I forgot to mention, I did tease them with the Colts. The Colts were the leg I brought down.
Right. And in general, again, if there's
two home teams,
there's one kind of way that I am nervous backing the Minnesota Vikings, and that is if you have a deep passing attack that can really expose some of their weaknesses down the field. And that specifically goes against what we've seen Sam Darnold be able to do in his career and continuing into this year, even with a Joe Brady schemed offense. So for a lot of reasons, I think Minnesota is the right side here. I really hope that those injuries trend more positively and that we see some good news.
Yeah, having Barr and Thielen and all those guys still banged up would be bad. Thielen would be important. Survivor, Joey, we haven't quite got to that yet, although Indy plays Jacksonville still. Like, there may be better spots there, but outside of Indy,
there are 3 plus EV sides in
Rams
Survivor this week. The Rams are not one of them.
Are a big favorite, but they're a road favorite, and they're in a weird spot, and we don't know where the injuries are. If you have to put in your Survivor stuff early, that's a rough one. So like the Colts are probably going to get used by a bunch of people. I think people who haven't used Tampa are maybe looking at other spots outside of a Thursday game, but that might be something to use just because they're a favorite. A lot of people use Buffalo up already. Buffalo versus that Tennessee defense is awful tempting. And then, what would the other one be? Maybe Miami, Green Bay?
Tampa.
Yeah.
Tampa. Did you say them? Tampa, Buffalo, Indy, and the Rams are the 4 plus EV. And the Rams. Yep. And the Rams, I'm not going to put them as plus EV because that is going to be an enormous amount of the pool is going to have Rams.
Yeah.
So if you get a EV, it's very.
I'll be using Colts for most of mine. That is where
you can ironically you can consider KC this week. You can consider Pittsburgh this week. I don't have a lot of future value really on KC. The only other one that I would consider KC would be against the Giants week 8. Pittsburgh, I have no future value on them. Basically, they have one other game that you could consider, and that's against Detroit week 10. This comes down to Indy, and if you have the stomach to continue to go against Houston, which I'm fine with.
I'm fine doing it. I didn't do it last week. I went all Minnesota, so Minnesota's used up in all my contests. Okay. No more Vikings for me. All right. we'll get to a couple as we get to them. But Chargers at
Colts,
Baltimore.
Just in general, I think you're going to have I think that Colts have about an 85% win probability by my numbers, and you're going to have about 30-ish% of the pool there. So that's a nice strategy play.
More people will be on the Rams. Like the Colts is probably the play for me. So,
yeah,
all right, Chargers at Baltimore. A couple of MVP candidates going at it. A couple of nice wins, nice late wins. Both coming off the high of getting a sneaky win. Both look good. Lamar's passing numbers, obviously eye-popping. Hosting the Chargers, coming to the East Coast. Is this an early game? It is. So you've got an East Coast start time for a West Coast team. And is there anything else situational there? I have something against Baltimore for this one.
Not sure what a little bit of a short week.
Oh yeah. So they do have a little bit of a rest disadvantage. I make this 3.5, and I don't have much to say about this.
I'm excited for this game.
I want to watch it. Yeah.
So let's talk about the line real quick, because I've heard this a couple of places. A couple of people have said this, and I haven't really pushed back. Why is this 3? Or people, they saw the open. Why 3.5? What? Like that was kind of the common take, right? You heard that, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
It's gotten bet to 3. So
Chargers beat all these good teams.
There's some market momentum here for the LA Chargers. Everybody talking all week. Brandon Staley plus EV coach doing all the right things. All that is true. The preseason prior, do you want to guess what this line was expected to be if we go back in time to the beginning of September?
5.5?
It was exactly 5.5. That is a wonderfully good guess. And so the difference between the expected win probability of 5.5 and 3 is massive. And so we have this number at 3 reflects a huge adjustment already in favor of the Chargers. And even at 3.5, that reflected some weight on the prior, where we thought Baltimore clearly in the upper echelon, Chargers clearly in the middle. And, I guess at this point, my numbers say Ravens or pass. And considering what the Chargers have done to this point in the season, it was an easy pass.
Yeah. Same with me. I'm on the Ravens side of 3. I love what they've been doing. The fact that they've been able to, a big knock on them the last couple of years was like, oh yeah, the running game is wild. Like they're doing stuff we've never seen with a running quarterback, and just any running back they put back there is just working out, which is still obviously still a thing for them. But the fact that they've been able to add such a nice element to the passing game and make it work is scary. Although for some reason, the full, is it Endgame or Infinity War where what did it cost the defense? Like for some reason it cost the defense, and some of that is just injury and attrition and aging out, and they don't have the skill players that they once did. But this defense is not nearly as good, so they haven't moved much for me because of that. Like the offense, I'm upgrading this offense, downgrading this defense, and the Ravens are pretty much staying pat. So the fact that this has come down from the preseason, if other market forces are treating the Ravens like they did in the preseason with their priors, haven't moved them all that much, it's saying all of it is a Chargers upgrade, which is fair. And this number is probably pretty fair. And I'm fine with that. And I'm fine just watching this game and enjoying it. I might bet an over just for fun.
I mean, this is flirting with 2.5 at some places at this point, which is insane. But no, just to kind of comment, Mark brings up 3.5 to 5.5 isn't that massive. It's a warranted move. Just in terms of implied win probability at this point, right? As of, I wanted to bring that up too. We'll get there in a second. Just in time, implied win probability, we're almost up to about a 12% swing here. And there's not a lot you can say that is worthy of downgrading Baltimore. So this is a 12% swing that is all one way upgrading LA. And that's a lot for this early in the season for 5 results. So I think the value numbers wise is probably Ravens, especially if it gets to 2.5. The problem is every matchup advantage in this game ticks the box Chargers for me. All of them. Yeah. Chargers defense actually matches up well against Lamar. kind of the perfect defense, if you want to be honest. Lamar in general over the course of this season. Oh, USA wins 2-1. They didn't get that third goal though. Shucks. The general point that I was going to make, I lost because Dan was dancing to the USA winning. But the
blame it on Dan.
The general approach teams have taken to defending Lamar Jackson this season has been to cheat on the early down designed runs that are such a huge part of the Greg Roman offense. And in response to that, there's been some nice audibling and some nice designed pass plays that have taken advantage of soft spots in the defense created by that cheating. That's what I'm seeing. Okay.
And the Chargers don't have to cheat.
The Chargers don't have the skill.
They have the skill position players all over the defense to not cheat.
Exactly the point. Yeah. They don't have to cheat. And if Lamar has kind of gotten into this comfortable, I'm going to throw it here and here and here. Well, there's a lot of guys that have the ability to pick off the football who are going to be occupying those locations that I'm nervous about if I'm backing Baltimore here, right? Like every pass out of Lamar's hands on early downs is going to be a little of like, where's it going? Where's it going? Where's it going? Is it? Yes. Okay. Whew. Like that is going to be something to be carefully watching. And hey, look, Greg Roman and Baltimore might be wise to all of this, and they may come out with a run-heavy approach on early downs that is all Lamar based, and they may be able to get 10 yards a pop out of him in this game, and their offense might be awesome. Flip the switch here and look at Chargers against the Baltimore defense, and you have a very obvious mismatch of this passing attack and these wide receivers, including Austin Eckler, against a Ravens defense that can absolutely be passed on this year. This Ravens defense is not the same unit that we saw last year. Both injury and scheme have taken a meaningful step backwards. And I think realistically, the Chargers are going to be able to put up points here. And for all those reasons, over was a great play on Sunday. And I'm happy that it has now moved across 51. There was resistance at 52. Did you see that? It ticked up to 52 and it got whack-a-mole back down. So there is some market, I think, likes 51.5. This is probably where we ride this out. Weather's going to be fine. I think realistically, it's going to be a very good game. I like points here. I think it'll be decided late. I think both teams, you have 2+ EV coaches in terms of when to go for it. You have great kicking, obviously, with the Baltimore Ravens in terms of getting those extra points from 50-yard field goals. And yeah, I don't really have much concern about fourth down regression coming for the Chargers anytime soon because
they run good plays.
Yeah, they're running good plays and they're catching defenses by surprise. And as long as that's still happening, they're going to keep converting. So, and Justin Herbert is on a fucking heater right now, man. I know you saw a lot of those passes he threw. He threw some extremely tough, good balls against that Browns team. Browns were not playing bad defense in that game. They were covering relatively well, except for the one blown cover against Mike Williams. And they're just this offense is on another level right now. It's awesome to see.
It's a lot of fun, especially, and that was the thing. Like I posted my top 10 power ranked teams, got a lot of shit for keeping the Chargers too low, and I had to tell a bunch of people, I'm like, I'm cheering for the Chargers. I have Justin Herbert MVP tickets. This is not my opinion. Like I'm not saying, I don't think they're very good.
I will stand up for you if anyone says no, you don't. I have the screenshots.
Yeah, I'll post some damn tickets to those. I got a 28. I'm pretty happy with. So
nice.
Justin Herbert MVP. Let's go. Switch to the second half of the slate.
And any team total Chargers 24 in your any feel for that? I guess it's probably 24.5 now. What keeps this Chargers team under 24 is really
let's do that one. I'd like to cheer for Herbert to score.
Okay,
because
I'm doubling
I like
down
your, I like
have
your
the
over.
full game
I like
over,
your over.
But you didn't get
right.
involved,
Secret pod play is coming out, and geez, I didn't remember there's this many games left. Although I don't have much to say about a couple.
Chargers
Cincinnati
over 24.5. Secret pod play. Sorry, go ahead.
Pod play.
Go ahead.
Cincinnati at Detroit. Battle of the large cats. Cincinnati.
That is how they're selling this. The battle of the large cats. Yeah.
It's like Rumble in the Jungle, the Thriller in Manila, the Battle of the Large Cats at Detroit. Detroit playing really hard for their crazy coach, who I've now fallen in love with, madly in love with, Dan Campbell, and still no wins. Probably should have had a couple wins. This is a rough go of it for these guys. I'm at a bigger number than what it opened at. Like this look ahead was 3.5. It opened 3.5. I'm not at 3.5, and it's getting bet kind of the other way in some spots. Detroit, like I'm betting Cincy. This is a bet. Cincy today.
Okay.
I had, even on the road, like too many injuries for Detroit at this point now against a good passing attack. I don't see an issue with a young quarterback on the road because it's Joe Burrow and he's shown the poise already to get it done against much tougher teams. His throat is fine. He might have to go to silent counts because he won't be doing the
Omaha.
The hard counts to try to get people off. But yeah, I have to lay the 3 here. I make this.
Will he be able to communicate the play in the huddle?
I think you probably have a wide receiver do it.
You think they put the green dot on the wide receiver?
No, but he does like hand signals to him or something. I don't know. We used to run plays in with a wide receiver in high school. They'll figure something out, I'm sure. But yeah, this is a tough spot for the Lions too. The continued injuries for this team. They shouldn't have even been close with Minnesota. Like the fact that Minnesota had to, sneak it out with them was pretty rough. That's a pretty bad indictment of just Zimmer going completely stupid brain with his late game strategy, game planning there. Minnesota should have won that by a couple scores. I'm not saying it would have been a good play, but if you teased Minnesota, you got the worst of it. And yeah, I'm bowdy with the Bengals here.
Okay.
I don't know. What do you make this?
I am at a flat 3, but I'm concerned about the Bengals offense with the voice injury. I don't know why.
I didn't really, the communication thing is rough. Joe Mixon, his ankle is always hurt, they say, but he looks just fine. Like he looked just fine on that ankle. So I'm not worried about this offense. They don't have the horses to cover the receivers here. They have 3 good receivers. Everyone wants to talk Chase. They have 3 good receivers.
I'll tell you the truth.
They're going to do what Minnesota should have done for them.
I'll tell you the truth. My power numbers say that my unadjusted power numbers say that this is a 3. And I'm not ever going to lay. I'm not ever going to take the points with the dog in this spot. This poor of a team in general. And so I just kind of I went right by it. And I didn't make really any adjustments for whatever's going on with Cincinnati and Burrow, whatever's going on with the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions, it's worth noting, have lost their center, Frank Ragnow.
Yeah.
In general, I'm more interested in fading Goff outdoors than indoors. In general, I'm more interested in fading the Lions against a team that has a little bit more track record of plus EV offense. Zach Taylor is still a guy that I'm struggling to figure out. That's
the part I hate.
Here's the Zach Taylor thing, and I think I've got it, but I don't know. He's coaching for his job, which means he doesn't mind being aggressive because what do I have to? He's got nothing to lose, right? He's not actually making plus EV decisions in game because he understands them, right? He's just literally like, well, fuck it. I've got nothing to lose. I need to win this year or I'm gone. And I think that's what you're seeing. And it comes across a little, fake sharpish. But the identity of this team is still a huge question mark in terms of how they want to run the offense. The Mixon coming back, swirling. If this is, I liked the ball in Burrow's hand and the offense being more aggressive down the field more than I liked, the running on early first downs or on early downs with Mixon, but it might work against this Lions team because they stink. I guess they
can get after the passer too, and the pass blocking for Detroit has been abysmal. The defense is quietly been one of the worst coverage units in the league. We just haven't seen, like, teams aren't for some reason taking
The Lions,
advantage.
right?
I don't,
You're talking about
yeah,
the
I don't,
Lions.
yeah, the Lions.
Yeah,
I'm not
right.
sure.
No, I completely
Teams are
agree with
just
that.
not taking advantage of it. Somebody's going to put 50 up on this team one day.
That's just
like,
like, a nice
like,
time to do it.
yeah, this would be a great time to do it. It'd be like, oh, this is a really bad secondary. Like, we can just throw in every down and somebody's going to be open down the field. Not only that, you have Uzi, you have a good tight end, and on the other end, Hawkinson's banged up. I'm pretty sure he plays, but he's got an injured knee at this point too.
That's good
Swift,
to watch out
Swift
for.
was limited. Hawkinson did not practice today. Swift was limited, so they're banged up on offense. Their defense stinks, and they are missing an important piece of their offensive line that was already kind of getting dinged up a little. So yeah, I'm on the 3 here.
Okay. You're not worried about the Penny Sewell revenge game?
I don't think that's a thing.
I'm being sarcastic.
I hope you aren't. I think that's.
You don't think he's going to pancake his way to a Lions win?
I think he's injured.
Penny Sewell?
He's dinged up. Like, he'll play.
Is he really? Oh,
he's been banged up all year. He'll play. He wasn't on the report, I don't think so.
Okay.
All right. Giants hosting the Rams. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because we don't know if it'll be Glennon or Dimes. Mr. Daniel Jones was at practice. They said he didn't have pads on, and then a reporter told Joe Judge, yes, he did. And Joe Judge made a weird face. So that's where that franchise is at. The Rams,
Jesus
like we
Christ.
talked about, are going to be used in Survivor a ton, even though they're on the road. 10-ish, that's probably where it should be. Saquon isn't a big needle mover for me, especially in the markets. I make this 10.4. I'm not interested in betting this any which way but loose. Tony is banged up. Galladay is hurt. Saquon is out. You already lost Blake Martinez. Your starting quarterback is concussed. Things are going from bad to worse. You're 1-4. Don't put Daniel Jones out there if he's not quite ready. That would be irresponsible, I think. You're 1-4. Like, you're not in this division last year where it's like, oh, we're 2 games out of first though. Like the Cowboys are actually good this year, so I would hope they are responsible with him. Who knows? He might be just fine. He might have been popping back from it, but this is another one where I lean under. But
what's going on with that market? Talk to me
that
because
market,
I'm
very,
very confused. I'm not close to 48.5. In fact, I liked 47.5 because I thought this was going to cross 47. And I haven't gotten a market to bet into because everybody's low limits and, wants to wait for the news here. But it's at 49 in some places. Is this manipulation because the limits are low, or what's happening here?
I tend to lean that way, but I honestly don't know. I don't know why this is going up. None of the injuries are really like defensive injuries. And yeah, the Rams defense is a little fraudulent, but boy, I'm very confused on why this is going up. So, Andrew Thomas hurt his foot.
Yes,
and there's a lot. There's a lot.
Bunch of guys.
The Giants could score like 6 points here. If this is, you can say what you want about the Rams being fraudulent. Like, if just all your skill players are injured, it's going to be tricky to get this done even at home.
I completely see that exactly the same way. This is a good spot for the Giants. The Rams defense to
get right,
play like they played last year. And honestly, like, can the Rams score 49? Maybe. But at that point, why aren't people just betting the Rams minus 10? Why are you betting over 47.5 to 48.5 to 49? There's a little bit of wind in the forecast here, and Meadowlands tends to be a little tricky when it comes to wind.
Should we just bet this under? Should we just?
Yes, but I still would love to know. I would love to know what the angle is on the over. Would love to, because guess what? Even if Danny Dimes plays, even if he goes, are they going to use his greatest strength?
You can't call designed runs for him.
You cannot call designed runs. You'll concuss him out of the game maybe for the season.
Yeah, maybe. I don't think people are like betting into a major liquid market based off of I think there's going to be a lot of turnovers, and we're going to get short fields for the Rams. So I don't know. I'm probably there's a 90% chance we're going to be betting this under.
The preseason total expectation here, by the way, 45.5.
I mean, maybe, whenever you have Deshaun Jackson in a game.
Yeah, I guess that's maybe part
Arizona,
of it.
Cleveland.
Deshaun Jackson has had some memorable games in the Meadowlands. It's true.
Yeah, he has.
I'll tee this one up. I played the Browns.
Really good game. This will be
played
a
the
really
Browns
good one too.
I played him at 2.5. I laid a little bit of juice, but not as much as you would have to do to get a 2.5 now. The matchup is good for the Browns in this one. Obviously, their strength of their offense right now, the rushing attack going up against the bottom 5 rush defense is something that I love. The Cardinals and an injured right-shouldered Kyler Murray going to a windy Paul Brown Stadium and trying to go score for score with this Browns team is something that I do not think will be effective. And you've seen some pretty healthy action come in, pushing this total down, which I believe is probably directionally correct. It may have overreacted a bit because I don't know if we're going to quite get to the 20-mile-per-hour threshold. However, the way that the Cleveland Browns Stadium is situated, I don't think you need 20 miles an hour to be a problem when it comes to wind in that stadium. I'm a little conscientious of this spot for the Browns in that they played their damn asses off last week and lost, and sometimes that can deflate a locker room a bit. There's obviously a lot swirling around what's going on with Baker Mayfield and the quality of his play over the balance of the season and why he can't close the door on some of these wins. And if he's elite and if he deserves a contract and if Odell Beckham Jr. will ever find chemistry with Baker Mayfield, the answer is probably no. But all that said, the Browns, I think, win the battle in the trenches on both sides of the football here, which is huge. They're dealing with an absolute S-load of injuries. I know this, but I don't care.
I mean, Arizona does too. Arizona not as many, but important injuries, and obviously that you're going to be missing Chandler Jones, and then also, when did the here's a little pop quiz for you. When did the Cardinals become bad last year?
It was around the time that Kyler Murray injured his shoulder.
Yeah. So this is very, very. If you have Arizona tickets, futures, and this is concerning for me. And I bet this team total under, a regular season win total under, but I've written it off. It's dead. That ticket's gone. There's no chance they're going like 2-10 down the stretch. So, when he hurt his shoulder, they stopped running him as much, and the offense completely changed. And they weren't scoring. They didn't look as good. They were disjointed, discombobulated. If that looks anything like this, we're going to be looking for futures on some of these other teams in this division. Not only to win the division, but to win the NFC conference.
You probably need to get involved with the Rams now if that's what you want, because the Seahawks are effed, the Niners are effed, and the Rams play the Giants and they play the Lions next week. So the Rams are going to catch a little steam in this next 2 weeks.
Yeah, so that again, Cleveland facing a lot of injuries. I'm not as excited to get involved in this as you, even though I actually, my numbers are a little Cardinal leany, to tell you the truth, but I haven't done any injury adjustments for this at all. So I'm tempted to get in bed with the Rams or the Seahawks to win the NFC.
Ooh. Wow. Wait till we get to the Seahawks game because I got some thoughts for you. Arizona, my fair here is Cleveland -3.5. Browns, please get it done. Let's move on. I can't spare any more thoughts on the Browns or the Cardinals. What's your general? What you didn't? I'm guessing. Did you bet this game?
Oh God, no.
If you had to for a pool, are you team Raiders distracted letdown or team Raiders rally to save their season?
I would say letdown because their offensive game plan is gonna be worse. Like, you might be a hateful bigot, but you could call some plays. like say what you want about the shit he said, and it's not the kind of stuff that should ever go in a work email or probably any emails. Guys, like, take it easy on that stuff. And, we're not going to get into a big debate about what happened and why and who and the where, because there's a lot going on there with the Washington football team of all places for this to come from.
Yeah.
But the guy was an offensive smart guy. Like, he knew his way around a fun, creative offense for many years. And they won a Super Bowl because they had Tony Dungy's defense, and he came in there and made the offense half decent and let Brad Johnson win a goddamn Super Bowl. So, and now he's not even up on the Ring of Honor. That stuff always cracks me up. Like, I didn't even think of that. Like, Tampa comes out with a PR like, oh, we took him down. I'm like, I guess you kind of have to do that sort of stuff. But I think this offense takes a step back because of this, and this defense kind of, we saw a jump up, but it's still not a good defense. So I'm worried about the Raiders long term. And people rush to bet the Broncos -3. The Broncos probably coming back into a normal spot in their range, maybe the middle to lower third of their range, after they were 3-0 and they were over bet going into that Baltimore game. They lost 2 in a row, and now they're back into a normal price range. Kind of choked on myself there a little. And yeah, I guess I would have made a little bit of value, but I have this at like 2.8. So I'm not betting this, and I'm certainly not getting in bed with the Raiders at this point.
Okay. Yeah. I don't have any appetite to get involved with the Raiders either. My gut was that it was going to be more rally around locker room leaders and let's go save our season. But the comments that Derek Carr came out with today completely threw cold water on that. He was basically going full emo Carr. Sad to see his buddy Gruden have to pay a price for his assholery.
The only positive I will say was probably the right call to make the special teams head coach. Let Gus Bradley and who's the other coordinator? Why am I blanking on this right now?
Do you want a clue?
No, because it's not going to come out. It's tip of the tongue thing. Just say it.
It's the same name as a guy who was a tight end for a long time in the league.
Hunter Renfrow. Everybody's named Hunter Renfrow.
No. It is Greg Olsen.
Greg Olsen. There we go. Greg Olsen and Gus Bradley continuing to do their jobs is probably the right call. Put the special teams guy, and he's been there for a while. Like, he knows the team.
Yes.
Like, so maybe not a big drop off as far as a team, but a drop off offensively. And I'm not excited about this. This might be an under spot.
Okay. Easy stay away from me.
Oh yeah.
On the Gruden stuff, I think I haven't seen all the emails, obviously, because they're hiding them. They only released selective set of them.
Just enough to let you know that, like, hey, here's some stuff he said.
Yeah, he's an asshole. And I get it. Like, yeah, that's shocking. Gruden is an asshole. And I think this is, if you're going to conduct yourself that way in a professional setting, then you and this is your comeuppance, then so be it. It seems fair. But I also think that this feels very PR coordinated by the NFL in general, to sort of take some of the sting off of whatever else is going on that they found in the Washington football team investigation that they want to bury inside of a mine, a tungsten mine, and blow the freaking mine shaft. So that no one can ever find out what exactly was going on in Washington. And hopefully there's public pressure or media pressure and some investigative reporting that digs out exactly what else was going on there, because
I might watch All the President's Men tonight. Things
you think there's a deep throat in Washington?
Things getting hidden in Washington. This is it's just a good movie anyway. I mean,
yeah,
kills that. Without getting too deep into that, yeah, they're carrying. It's not even carrying water. It's just the owners have much more power than people realize, and can get away with quite a bit. It takes so much for any sports owner. I mean, it took what was back when the Clippers had to oust theirs. I mean, that was some pretty bad stuff, and it wasn't something they could brush under the rug. It was like right there, and the girlfriend taped him saying it, and then he turned out to, I mean, he was pretty creepy anyway. So
the worst stuff that any human being has ever said or thought is came from Donald Sterling, so not shocking.
Donnie Sterling was something.
Not shocking.
There was like a little podcast series on him that I think ESPN did, which was pretty worthwhile listen.
Well, yeah, I'm very much following this just to see if the NFL does really truly try to bury the rest of that investigation, because that would be something. And this feels like a coordinated PR effort. Like this was strategic to a degree.
Yeah.
Like, let's get a big name. Let's oust him. It can be on a team that in an owner, we can have franchise. The rest of the guys in the boys club of the NFL owners don't care about embarrassing the Raiders, embarrassing Mark Davis. They'd hate him anyway. And honestly, they're probably doing him a favor by relieving him of the $60 million obligation he has to John Gruden. So, this is all very weird. All of it's weird. And I don't think we've heard the end of this yet, which obviously I'd rather the NFL was about football, but here we are. Most important entertainment property in the world, maybe the United States, definitely the United States, maybe
Disney.
The world. You think Disney's more powerful and important than the NFL?
Yeah, they owned ESPN and Marvel. Those are two best things like that you can have, and Disney World. Anyway, we're on to Dallas and New England. I sold out to a 4 here. I played a very, very cheap 4.
Okay. Talk me into this, because my numbers say that this is Patriots or pass.
I just offensive upgrade, like massive offensive upgrade from my priors. And I've swayed this one a little further away. When a team has priors like last season for Dallas Cowboys, I can't use them in the same way I'm using another team. Like, hey, this is what the team was about last year. This is where I was at on this team at the end of last year. I take away all the players they lost, I add in the players they added, drafted, coach changes and all that, and I come up with a prior. I can't do that with Dallas because of the massive injuries. There's 3 or 4 teams where I just can't use the prior numbers because last year didn't make any sense for what this team's makeup is from a roster standpoint. So I'm quicker to upgrade Dallas than most, I think. Maybe I don't know if you're in the same light as me on that, but I'm upgrading Dallas much faster than I normally would because I want less and less of their priors built into my numbers. And 4 is cheap for me with this offense right now.
Okay. I don't have a huge problem with that, honestly. And if you're going to go to war with a team, it better be one that has an offense that's as good as the Cowboys. You got a cheap 4. Good for you.
Make it 6.
6. Wow. Okay.
I think I'm off market with Dallas, but I'm fine with it. I'd rather be ahead and wrong than behind and wrong.
I am Dallas 2.9er here. And
I wonder what our New England numbers look like. We might have to talk about that afterwards.
My New England number, I have them as the 17th best team in the NFL right now. They're a little worse than league average, about 0.1 standard deviations worse than league average.
I have them 20th. Not too far back. I think I just have Dallas higher. So, yeah, I'm on Dallas. I know a lot of you smart cookies in the chat. Grabbed some 1 last week. Good job for anybody who got an early number. You got some massive value. A little bit of buyback at 4. I know this ticked to 4 at Chris in certain places. So, coming back, and Papa Calls even says he got Dallas +3 over the summer. Look at that.
Nice
That's
work,
a hell of a
man.
number. God, I was going to say let's get to the last game, but the last game's barely worth talking about. Seattle at Pittsburgh is an ugly one. This is I mentioned this on the Sunday pod. I downgraded 5 points for Gino to Russ to Gino rather. I'm not swaying off. That was kind of a quick math for me, and I'm sticking with it. It's pretty close to where I want to be. So I had to give him a pretty big downgrade, and I think I might be light on it just based off where I'm sitting compared to the market. So, talk me into how big of a win percentage swing are you giving for the quarterback difference?
I went pretty heavy. I have a 2 standard deviation downgrade at the quarterback position from Russ to Gino. And I still showed value in Seattle, but I didn't bet it. I think this is probably Seattle or pass. I think Pittsburgh laying this many points is a tough ask considering how that offense has played so far this season. However, I think if you give the Pittsburgh a full week of time to prepare for a Geno Smith-led offense, then they may make him look pretty bad. There's really, I've heard a couple of different takes on Geno in Seattle, and in general, people are like, well, he might operate more inside the framework of Shane Waldron's system, and therefore maybe they are surprisingly frisky offensively. And then I've heard other people say, well, combine a minus EV approach that Pete Carroll is intent to run out there, and with a Geno Smith replacement level quarterback, and you're in deep trouble. So it's generally not a game I want to get involved in much. I think I'd rather use this time to just say I hope the Seattle fan base continues to put pressure on Pete Carroll and not give him a pass for whatever happens this season in the absence of Russell Wilson. A good coach like Sean Payton lost his Hall of Fame quarterback for almost the exact same time frame in a similar situation with a losing record, and he was able to stitch together winning stretches of football that kept his team in the playoff every single time.
Plus, Chris Carson's coming back. Like, he's probably going to practice the end of this week and play. It is Seattle or nothing. Like, people, how can you back Seattle? How can you possibly back Seattle after Russ is like, well, that is 130% baked into the line. Like,
of course.
The look ahead on this was, clear on the other side. I mean, it was a completely different
what was
number.
It? Do you have it up?
I want to say it was flipped from a
Seattle 2.5.
3. I have Seattle 3. So we have a touchdown adjustment by the market already because Steelers had taken a little too already. And this is built in. Seattle +4 with Geno is probably a fair number. Geno is still a half decent backup. He actually had a nice throw. That touchdown pass wasn't horrid. And this is not a spot where I would want to lay money with Big Ben with this offense. Just the Seahawks defense has been not anything to write home about, but it's just too many points. Like, this is pretty. If I'm taking a lot of guesses here because I don't have priors on this offense with Geno. I'm taking a ton of guesses, and I'm probably at around Steelers -3.5. I'm showing value on Seattle, and I just can't do it.
Okay.
Yeah, there's just no chance I'm going to bet into this market.
Interesting. Are we? We have to watch this game.
Look at this total. This
I guess if you want to bet Seattle, is this going to be a game decided by a field goal, or are they going to just win outright?
Even with Ben being this bad, this offense should be so much better for Pittsburgh. That's what's maddening about them.
What's funny? So much ink spilled, so many words spared in the preseason about how bad the Steelers' offensive line was, and woe is me, and that's going to be their Achilles heel. They've been fine. It's been all Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah,
100%.
And Pittsburgh should be okay on offense. I have Seattle as like my 22nd best defense. It's not going to be hard for them. They're going to make it hard on themselves. Eric Eager said it the best way. Even when they were 11-0 last year, they were doing things in a way where they have to cross the street 100 times to get to where they're going. And it sucks. So, and no, my other teaser leg was the Colts. Colts and the Carolina Panthers for me, a 7-pointer at -130. And this screams an ugly turnover-laden game that we will be laughing at overtime and in overtime of halftime.
I love it, man.
Weird week.
Hey, real quick.
Yes.
Disney and the NFL, they are almost dead square net worth.
Really?
How about
of
that?
Of course you looked that up.
I was curious because I was like, maybe I'm talking out of my ass. But yeah, no, the current estimated net worth of Walt Disney is in the ballpark of
He's dead.
No, Disney, the entity,
Okay.
is $150 billion. That is taking their total assets minus their liabilities. And the NFL similarly, if you cumulative value of the franchisees, including future contracts, with the entertainment companies they have, is just around 160 billion dollars also. So
you pulled a balance sheets or what?
Pretty much a draw, I would say. Although if you had to ask me, I think the value of the NFL being sort of the only thing people are watching live television that you can sell them ads against at the point, whereas Disney and movies and streaming probably continues to, kind of I think that has a lower ceiling really than the NFL in terms of value and dollars that you can bring in over the future next couple of years. So that's just my 2 cents. But
one quick thing that I just saw before we go, the Jaguars. This can't be right. I need to pull this up. How many field goals do you think the Jaguars have scored this year?
Who's their kicker? Josh Lambo?
Yeah.
Is it Lambo still? I was just making that up.
I have no idea, man.
Okay. 3.
According to this, 0.
Like they have made 0 or they have attempted 0?
They've made 0 field goals. They've only scored on 1 field goal when they ran the other team's back, apparently.
Are you kidding?
I don't think so. No, that on the first one they had the Chark touchdown, the return field goal, the Arizona game, the Robinson touchdown. Against Denver, they scored a touchdown early, a touchdown late, missed an extra point. Against Houston, they scored 21. That one's pretty easy to come up with. It was touchdown. 21 against the Bengals and the Titans. They scored 19 via 3 touchdowns and a couple misses.
Yeah. Josh Lambo 0 for 3 so far this season.
0 for 3, no field goals through 5 games. Weird bar trivia for you, and we'll leave it at that.
Strange.
I think Gil put it up on his Instagram. Super weird. All right, let's call it. I'll be here. We'll be here tomorrow for a halftime show, huh?
Cool. Can't wait. Hopefully we are trying to figure out if we're going to shoot for the middle with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers up 24-0. That would be ideal.
Pretty sweet. Part of Urban's 250 plan. Jesus. All right, see you guys. Please don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Yeah, if you're USC, are we sure we want